All right, well, Ugly Rosie has come into the garage to finally get roadworthy, and bike sat around for quite a few years, and then I got it running back a few months ago. So the motor runs great and everything, but the reason why it looks like they parked it and left it was because the front fork seals are shot. Now you think, well, why wouldn't you just fix your fork seals? Well, let me zoom in with the camera and I'll show you why they decided not to tackle it and just to go ahead and sell it. Alright, so if we look to see why somebody did not change out these fork seals up top, normally you pull them off and you take everything out and you take these top caps off. But if I zoom in here, you can see that right there, that is stripped out. So it's a big old huge Allen wrench, and apparently these things are rusted down because this poor bike sat around and got all rusty and nobody took care of it. So there is no way I'm going to try to get that off because it's already stripped out. The other side isn't as stripped, but that tells me exactly why they decided not to change the fork seals. What we're going to have to do in order to avoid tearing things up and me having to get new forks, I'm going to try to change them out from the bottom. So let's get set up and we'll get the bike jacked up and ready to go, and then we'll take the front off and see if we can't get these seals changed out. Alright, so to get the front wheel off the ground, we're going to put it up on the center stand, which is not that difficult to do. And you can see I'm not the heaviest person in the world, but I can get this bike up on the center stand not too bad. It just takes some trickery. But what you got to do is put your foot on the center stand, put your hand right here on the rest, and put your hand on the handlebar, and then pull up with your arms and push down with your foot. And you can get this big old heavy bike up on its center stand. So just like that, she's up on the center stand. Now all I got to do is raise the front wheel up and tip it backwards, and then hopefully we'll be able to have enough room to get those forks off. And there we go. So fortunately for this bike, it's got these crash bars on it so I can pick up underneath there. If they didn't have them, I would pick up under the motor with this little transmission jack because it's got a V, and I can put some rubber right there and then just lift up, and it doesn't put pressure on that center seal of the motor, which might damage it. But really easy with these bars on there, and we don't have to do a lot of work. Alright, so before we do anything with the front, what we want to do is stabilize it because it'll tip around, and because my brake pads are covered with fork oil, I'm going to have to change them, which means I'm going to have to take this cover off, and if this thing tilts, it's going to slosh all that brake fluid out. So let's get this thing stable, and then we can start working on it.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy.
And there we go. So now we got everything stable, so it's going to stay still for us so we can get this thing worked on. So first off, we got to take the tire off, and then hopefully we're going to have enough distance down to here that we can slide those forks out. Alright, so to get the wheel off, all we got to do is loosen up the clamp here.
Say you better let me speak, turn it up a new degree, bitch you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too.
And there, now we got the wheel loose, but it runs into the brakes and you can't slide it all the way out. So now we got to take the brakes off. And there we go. With one brake off, you can slide the wheel out. So we'll clean those rotors up and get all of that oil off of them. Get them back good to go. So once we change out these seals, and you can see it's been leaking all over my wheel, then we'll be good to go with the brakes again. Alright, so next up we got to take the fender off. And so that's 10 millimeters up inside of here. Alright, so next up is this support right here. So we gotta use a 10 millimeter. Alright, so last on the list is we got to get the brakes free. So we'll take the other brake off.
Shots, they're too toxic, need to take the noose off. And you cannot save me, cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing, all here for the taking.
Alright, so we're ready to pull the bottoms off the forks and hopefully get them out of there. So now we're going to make a mess. So we got to get us a little bucket to catch some stuff. And we hope that it's not going to spin on the inside. So I'm going to use a impact driver and try to see if I can't ratchet that out of there, because I can't get a hold of the top of the fork inside. Nope, she's just a spinning. So the little impact driver isn't going to do it. I'm going to have to get my air impact driver. Since the little one didn't get it out, we got to try to use the air one. And if this don't work, we're going to have to figure out how to get that top cap off. Let me try this one. Nope, not on that one. And not on that one either. Alright, so one more attempt here. What I did is put a jack underneath the fork to compress it a little bit, hoping that maybe that spring is going to hold that in place a little bit more. And then we'll try to hit it. I don't think it's moving. So maybe that's not going to work either. Alright, so not willing to give up too easy. I'm going to try to pull the shock up as tight as I can get it with a ratchet strap. And there we go. I don't even mind getting a little oily to get that off there. So that worked. Now we just got to figure out if we can get the ratchet strap back off. If you have one super stuck and if you can't get to the top, that is about the only way that you're going to get that off there, I think. Alright, so let's pull the ratchet strap back off and see, after we made this massive mess, if we need to get this thing to come back down without tearing up some fingers or something. What I'm going to do, just to be as safe as I can be, I'm going to put that through this hole right here. That spring is way compressed. I'm going to do it like that, and then when I release it, I can hold it with the strap, like that right there. So there you go, a whole lot safer if you just strap down like that, and then when you pop it, you can hold control. Alright, so let's get set up and see if we can pull that seal off the top. And so we got to take its little cover off. We got that off. Yeah, let me get some tape. We'll tape them up the pipe as we go. Now we got to get our little upper seal out of there. That's the dust wiper. And then down inside of here is the seal. For sure, looks like it is going back. So inside of there is a little keeper ring. And you gotta find the end of it. Like a little wire that's the little wire that got abused there when I took it off, but you can see it's broken, so I'm gonna have to order me another little wire right here before I put it back together, because this one is almost rusted in half. So I barely got that out of there. We'll see if we can order us one. So now, with that wire not holding the seal in anymore, the only thing holding it is just the seal itself. So let me clean around the edges of the seal. Make sure it'll come free. And all we got to do is pop the seal out. I'm going to put my nasty stuff here, raise it up. And out comes the seal. So there we go. So now we got all of that off. And so now all we got to do is get the seal off, but this little guy right here is holding everybody on, and it's just a split. And so all you do is just open it up with your fingers. Try not to bend it. Like that right there. Stack all those up for reference on the way they go. And now there's nothing keeping you from taking that old seal off. So now there's the old seal. And there's the old dust wiper. And there's our pretty little chrome looking thing that sits on top of the dust seal. Alright, so at this point I got to thinking, how am I going to refill these ports if they're on the bike? So I think right now it's best just to go ahead and take them off. And then that way we can check these little O-rings that are up top anyway. And then we can put it on, make it a lot easier to put the seal on with them off the bike. We got all that. Now we can rebuild him and put him back together and fill it up, and then we're ready to reinstall. Alright, to rebuild them, what we got to do is put everything back together. So let's put all of our assembly back on. Everything locked back down. So we got those back on. And so now, all we got to do is put our little end piece on there that wanted to spin around. And we can slip all that back down inside our cleaned out pipe there. And what we're going to do is just push that to the bottom. Like that. And there we go. So let's just put some petroleum jelly on it. Like I say, I went through and cleaned all that nasty that was out there. So now, we'll just set our new seal on. Carefully slide it down. Marginally in there. So then, we just use a piece of 1.5 inch PVC. Now it doesn't quite fit. You can see it kind of hits on top of the seal. And so this is 1.25 inch adapter. And so that actually sits down and sits real good to the outside. So we put those two together, and then all we got to do is push down on it and lock it down in place. And I'm going to get a hammer and thump that seal on down, and then I put my little keeper back in, put the dust seal on, and we're in good shape. So let me go get just another little piece and we'll thump that down in there. Alright, so since our pipe was a little too short, I just got another piece. And so that stacks up real well, pushes down in there. So now we just want to seat that. Not quite below the groove yet. Yeah, we're down below the groove. do is take our little retainer and put him down in there and click it into the groove. There we go. Now we just got to put our dust seal on. So it slips on the same way. And then last but not least was this little shiny guy. He sits on top, and we'll have to glue him back down to the top of that dust seal with some RTV, but we'll go ahead and put him on there. So now, all we got to do is fill it. So we got everything together, but it doesn't have any fluid in it. So now we got to fill it up. All right, so we are ready to refill our shock. And if we tried to refill it, because we're going to have to refill it from the top up here because we can't get that big bolt off, it'll all just run out that little hole right there, as you can see. It just oozes out. So what we got to do is take that off so it doesn't all go out that hole as I'm filling up. So what I need to do is clean that off with some alcohol, and then I'm going to put some tape on it. Now, when I fill it up, it won't all go running out of that hole. Alright, so for that, what we need is something to fill with. So we'll do that right there. Then we just got to fill it up with fluid. And there we go. So now we got our filled back up with the proper amount of fluid. We just got to put our bolt back in, and hopefully that's going to tighten down. We'll try it by hand first. Leak fluid everywhere, and then we'll tighten it up once we have it on the bike. Alright, so now comes reinstall time. So we got our shock flip back over, and all we got to do is put everything back together so we don't forget that little guy. And we'll take our tape back off. Alright, so all we got to do is slide it back up in there and put that little keeper back on and put it all back together. And there we go. So now we got that fork done. Now we just got to repeat the same for the other, and then we can air it up and see how we do. So now with fluid in there, it's much different. Alright, so we'll do the very same thing. I'll take the ratchet strap and strap this one up and see if I can't get that one off. We'll repeat, and then we'll get ready to put it back together. Next stop, we've got to change the brakes out, the little pad, so we'll do that real quick. I'll show you how to do that. Pushing the calipers back, checking to make sure that we don't get too full up top and it runs all over the place. And then put it all back together and we'll be done and ready to go for a test drive. Alright, well we got it all finished up, and even with messed up top things, you can still change the fork seals. And we did our brakes, so we're in good shape now. So now, it's time to go for a ride. Got good brakes, handle like a charm. Well, alrighty. Well, thanks for watching.